For hundreds of years, foundations have been an integral part of Danish society, providing substantial charitable aid and delivering over $8 billion in grants and payments in 2022 alone. Novo Nordisk, a prominent Danish company, boasts a market cap of $570 billion, surpassing Denmark's GDP. This highlights the profound influence of foundation ownership on the Danish economy and its corporate altruism, fostering growth in crucial sectors. In contrast, the United States has a different relationship with foundations, with only a brief window in the spotlight. The end of the Progressive Era saw the rise of American philanthropy, with large-scale donations from individuals like Rockefeller and Ford. Generous tax benefits, including deductions for charitable contributions and corporate giving, spurred this growth. However, foundations face scrutiny due to tax evasion abuses, with businesses transferring investments to tax-exempt foundations to avoid income taxes. By the 1950s, they became a popular tool for evading federal estate taxes, prompting a thorough investigation by the Ways and Means Committee. The 1969 Tax Reform Act imposed increased administrative costs, cracked down on self-dealing, restricted deductions on investments, taxed excess holdings, and placed grant restrictions. These changes stifled the energy of private foundations, causing many to shut down or become more cautious with spending and grants. The Tax Reform Act of 1969 significantly hindered the integration of foundations into the economy, eventually leading to years of warped incentives and a strict separation of business and charitable activities. The diverging paths of Eli Lilly in America and Novo Nordisk in Denmark reflect these sentiments. Founded in 1923, Novo Nordisk transitioned to foundation ownership in 1951, enhancing profits and funding for grants. Meanwhile, Eli Lilly, founded in 1876, went public in 1952 and shifted to non-family management in 1953, focusing on production expansion and product diversification. It's essential for large biopharma companies like Eli Lilly and Novo Nordisk to maximize their charitable purposes in addition to profit, especially due to the systemic flaws in American healthcare. In 2021, about 9.2 million Americans couldn't take prescription medications as prescribed due to costs, with the poorest and the disabled being the most affected. A staggering 82% of Americans say that drug prices are unreasonable, and 73% believe the government isn't doing enough to regulate them. The U.S. legislation surrounding foundation-based ownership structure indicates a rich history of abuse, with the distorted incentive structure plaguing the U.S. healthcare industry to this day, resulting in poorer patient outcomes. For instance, the U.S. is unique in allowing direct-to-consumer advertising for prescription drugs. In 2016, pharmaceutical companies spent $30 billion on marketing, with $18.5 billion for healthcare professionals and $5.2 billion for consumer ads. A July report from the U.S. House Committee on Oversight and Reform found that 14 of the largest drug makers spent $57 billion more on stock buybacks and dividends than R&D between 2016 and 2020. Also, on the consumer-facing end, the complex landscape of private insurance and Medicare/Medicaid requires extensive marketing to influence prescribing behavior and patient demand, because of which, in addition to direct consumer advertising, U.S. companies also invest heavily in marketing to healthcare professionals, including sales reps, conferences, and medical journal advising. These practices create a vicious cycle. First, excessive marketing drives up demand and costs, necessitating increased drug costs to achieve higher profits. Then, due to warped incentive structures and lack of regulation, instead of reinvesting these profits into R&D or lowering prices, companies prioritize stock buybacks, dividends, and executive compensation. This cycle perpetuates high drug prices and reduced accessibility for patients. In contrast, the European Union prohibits direct-to-consumer advertising of prescription drugs, lowering market expenditures. European drug prices are also generally lower due to a more centralized healthcare system, price controls, and negotiations with government healthcare systems. With the current limitations on foundation-based ownership structures, American corporations look to other ways to achieve philanthropic goals. Some attempts toward this objective include private corporations with altruistic aims, such as Mark Cuban's Cost Plus Drugs, selling generic drugs at cost, increasing drug accessibility and affordability. Another example is the efforts of major institutional investors like BlackRock, which champion corporate social responsibility and integrated governance structures through ESG initiatives to achieve long-term sustainability goals. One last salient example is when Patagonia transitioned to a purpose trust in 2022. Patagonia, long hailed as a model for how to operate a company to the benefit of society and the planet, now exemplifies how to align a company's ownership with its purpose. Whether through foundation ownership or other alternative models, U.S. companies need to shift to become more resilient and sustainable, becoming stewards of humanity as we confront an uncertain future.